Brand new episode of Pointless here at 5:15, but now protecting the public from a deadly risk. Defenders UK with a shocking story here on BBC One.
All around us, in every part of the UK, are skilled teams of eagle-eyed men and women, working alongside the police to keep us safe. They're the people on the front line, tackling the hazards that place us in danger.
This is not something you want anyone at all to ever experience.
They're cracking down on those who threaten our families.
These people prey on vulnerable people. They're just the lowest of the low.
They're protecting us on the streets and in our homes.
With telephone calls now, I don't answer it. That's how scared I am.
These men and women make up the UK's enforcement teams, our defenders. Today, our defenders respond to a major incident when canisters containing mustard gas are dumped in a lake.
What they did was reckless. They exposed the environment, they exposed the public to huge risk.
And they crack down on a fraudster caught stealing from a children's cancer charity.
He abused that charity, but more importantly, he abused the trust of the people that donated.
The Lincolnshire village of Woodhall Spa, famous for its peaceful, relaxing atmosphere and its historic links with nearby military bases. In October 2017, that peace was shattered. For almost 2 weeks, the village found itself at the centre of an extraordinary investigation. Sunday, the 1st of October. Former Territorial Army soldier Martin Tasker contacted police saying he and his wife, Michaela, had come into contact with a hazardous material in nearby woodland.
Martin Tasker gave an explanation to us that he had been walking in the woods and that he'd come across some canisters and he'd touched them, and that's how he'd become exposed to the chemicals within.
Martin Tasker had been to A&E complaining of blisters on his forearms. Over the next 24 hours, his wife Michaela would develop breathing difficulties.
They said that they'd found them on the Saturday and reported that to us on the Sunday because they were experiencing blistering and reddening to their skin, and they were concerned as to what they'd been exposed to.
The woods were a former military training site, so the area was cordoned off and a bomb disposal team called in.
Finding munitions in a military county like Lincolnshire isn't uncommon, so it was a fairly standard procedure to involve the military bomb disposal teams, and on the face of it, the initial response was quite straightforward.
Tuesday, October the 3rd. By now, there were serious concerns Martin and Michaela Tasker weren't telling the whole truth.
As we built a picture around the information that they were providing, it was clear that there were still gaps, that we weren't being told the whole story.
Chief Inspector Phil Vickers was the tactical commander.
And we formed the opinion that there was a much larger number of canisters that were still outstanding.
The suspicion was the couple had dug up several more of these canisters, but wouldn't say where they were. If that was the case, it was a major risk to public health.
I was asked to come into our force control room at about 12:15 on the Tuesday afternoon. The force control room inspector was able to lay out a picture of the information that was available to us, and within 15-20 minutes it was clear to us that we had something of real concern. We declared it as a major incident at around about 12:30 that day, so it didn't take long to recognise the potential for what we had.
The Environment Agency was alerted, Army, Navy and Air Force personnel were also drafted in. In total, 27 different agencies were involved. Emma Viner is a senior team leader at the Environment Agency's Joint Unit for Waste Crime. Emma is at the forefront of the fight to protect the environment.
An incident of this scale isn't something you see every day, but it's something that we are ready to deal with. We've got the structures in place, we've got the experience in place, and we've got the staff in place to deal with it. So when we are faced with an incident like this, we are ready to respond to it. Ultimately, our priority is to protect the environment and to protect human health. So everything we do in our incident response will focus on those things.
The canisters needed to be found and safely removed. The first step was to seal the area.
The wooded area just outside Woodall Spa is idyllic. It's a beautiful little wooded area. People regularly take their dogs for walks there. We were concerned that anybody coming into contact with those canisters would be at risk. It was absolutely imperative that we identified where they were, we located them, and we brought them into a safe location as soon as possible.
At the same time, a parallel criminal investigation was launched. Martin and Michaela Tasker were no longer witnesses. They were suspects. The couple were now both under arrest, and slowly, a terrible truth started to emerge. They'd found another 10 canisters and taken them to an address in Woodhall Spa to examine them more closely. Once they realised they contained mustard gas, they decided to dump them in the lake.
We believe that they knew exactly what they were doing, that they knew the risk to the wider community. They certainly didn't take into consideration the potential for harm that they might cause to the environment and harm that they might cause to the water supply in the area. Frankly, I thought it was outrageous.
Dumping the canisters and trying to cover up their actions had caused this major alert. Ben Thornley was incident manager for the Environment Agency.
Most people know the impact of mustard gas from what they know about the First World War. Obviously, it can be fatal. The difficulty with this incident is we didn't know what quantities it had been found in, what the condition of the mustard gas was.
Ben was concerned about the impact on the environment and on people in the area.
What they did was reckless. These individuals took a chemical weapon and moved it to several different locations before they dumped it in the lake. And they exposed the environment, they exposed the public to huge, huge risk.
Somewhere at the bottom of the lake lay the 10 canisters. Finding them before any of the lethal chemicals seeped out was the top priority.
This was a unique incident. We've never dealt with anything like this before. What none of us knew was the impact of dumping those canisters in the lake would be. We didn't know if they would degrade, we didn't know if they'd break up and open up and expose mustard gas to the environment or to people nearby.
Later, specialist sonar equipment is drafted in as the hunt for the potentially deadly canisters is stepped up.
We can see fish down there and weed in the bed, and then if we rotate the equipment, we can effectively look at it in 3 dimensions as well. Effectively, we're shining a torch down there now.
Meet the Westmere family. Christina, husband Jeroen, and their 2 daughters, Caitlin, and the youngest in the family, Erin.
Family mean everything to me. I just want to make sure I'm there for them, protect them, look after them, do what I can for them. They come first. They are my world.
Back in August 2010, when Erin was just 15 months old, they went on a family holiday to Scotland. It was a holiday they'd never forget, for all the wrong reasons.
We were away in Scotland. We'd gone to Fort William for my husband's birthday. Erin and Caitlin both had been unwell. Caitlin picked up really quickly. Erin never seemed to get over it. She just seemed to get more and more ill.
Just to be safe, They decided to take Erin for a checkup.
We took her to the local walk-in centre and they heard a heart murmur. They transferred us to the nearest hospital that had a children's department, which was Inverness.
Erin was seriously ill and needed an urgent blood transfusion.
The red blood cell count was so low. It was close to organs starting to shut down. The doctor explained to me, he said, looking at the bloods, she's got leukemia.
Erin was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Over the next 3 years, she'd endure a grueling course of chemotherapy and hundreds of blood transfusions.
It was all a bit of a nightmare, to be perfectly honest. Unfortunately, Erin had a bit of a rare strain, so she was on a stronger and longer treatment programme. Mind your feelings with that knife, it's like a really, really sharp knife.
Now aged 12, Erin is in remission. But Christina and the whole family believe they'd never have got through the hard times without the support of a charity called Children with Cancer UK.
Children with Cancer UK are brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. They really, really help.
One of the things the charity does is provide days out for families in this terrible situation.
For them to arrange days out was just brilliant. We've had a couple of trips to the circus. We've also been to Weston-super-Mare. They arranged a day out at the pier. That was really great as well. To be away from everything for a day, to spend a day together, was just invaluable, really.
This is the public face of Colin Nesbitt, delivering gifts to children's cancer wards across the country.
We'll do Sheffield tonight when we finish here. Yeah. And then I've got another 11 to finish off.
Nesbitt is the founder of Little Heroes Cancer Trust, another completely different charity set up to support children and their families. But secretly, he was stealing from the charity. In total, he defrauded Little Heroes out of more than £250,000.
The public need to trust charity. It sits at the heart of our communities and our society.
Tracy Howarth is the Assistant Director of Casework at the Charity Commission.
There are 167,000 registered charities. It's really important that we do hold those charities to account when there's potential wrongdoing or harm.
Tracy is our defender.
Charities operating correctly are absolutely key to our society. They make a difference every single day.
Little Heroes Cancer Trust was set up by Colin Nesbitt back in 2008 after his grandson was diagnosed with leukemia. Initially, he had the best of intentions.
This is like personal. It's always been personal to me.
He set this charity up to provide support to families that have got children that are suffering from this dreadful disease. People placed their trust and faith in him.
The donations started to pour in, and Nesbitt quickly became well known and well liked in Bradford and across Yorkshire.
Mr. Nesbitt was a very well-known figure in the community. He was charismatic, he was smart, he was incredibly articulate. He managed to capture hearts and minds in that community and was well respected by the community of Bradford.
But almost from the outset, the Charity Commission had its concerns.
Little Heroes was on our radar for some time. Mr. Nesbitt had overall control and oversight of all of the financial and governance arrangements of the charity.
In other words, only he knew how much money was coming in and where it was going.
He was trustee, he was director. Mr. Nesbitt was the sole operator. That is not normal practice.
The Charity Commission contacted him and advised him to appoint more trustees.
One trustee, one person with oversight can never be right in charity. Others have to hold each other to account to ensure that conflicts of interests are challenged and that the right decisions are made in the interest of the charity.
But Nesbitt ignored the warning. To find out exactly what was going on, Tracy's team started looking into the charity's financial records.
We used our powers to secure the bank accounts. Once we'd received those bank accounts, our analysis of those found there were a number of transactions, all pointing to Mr. Nesbitt, either that was a bank account or to cash. Initially, these looked like small amounts, but those small amounts built up significantly. That was a real concern.
The suspicious transactions added up to more than £30,000. It was enough to call Nesbitt in for a meeting.
In May 2015, we met with Mr. Nesbitt to present him with our findings.
Nesbitt claimed the money had been used for legitimate fundraising expenses, but he couldn't prove it.
Mr. Nesbitt said he wasn't very good at his financial accounting and hadn't kept receipts. We could not point to the recipient and the purpose for which that money was drawn out or spent.
Nesbitt was instructed to appoint 2 new trustees to help get to the truth.
We left that meeting with an agreement that Mr. Nesbitt would step away from the charity, that would allow the other 2 people to look at the accounts, to look through all of the paperwork to get it back into good order.
After the meeting, Tracy's team stayed in close contact with the new trustees.
They did report to us that Mr. Nesbitt actually was being quite difficult, not allowing access to the office and not allowing access to the files. Eventually, after a great deal of pressure, the member of staff who was committed to sorting this out eventually got into the office and got access to the files and the records that Mr. Nesbitt had kept under lock and key. It was then where it was identified that things were much darker than we first imagined or envisaged.
The true extent of his deception started to emerge, and a secret bank account was discovered.
What was found was another bank account, a chequebook in Mr. Nesbitt's name on behalf of Little Heroes Cancer Trust. This had been a secret bank account that nobody knew about. Straight away, that highlighted concerns.
More undisclosed cash withdrawals and transfers had come to light, this time amounting to hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Other records showed that Mr. Nesbitt had been taking cash out of the charity.
The new trustees immediately alerted both the police and the Charity Commission. They'd uncovered a serious fraud, and any evidence needed to be secured quickly.
The very next day, the police came and secured all of that evidence.
Nesbitt was arrested, and a suitcase full of money was found in his car and seized. Working with the police, Tracy's team continued its investigation.
We can use our powers to access bank accounts, and in accessing those bank accounts, we have the detail of all the transactions and the statements that are held on file.
In interview, Nesbitt denied any fraud, but paperwork showed that over an 11-month period, he'd stolen £87,000 from the charity. And that wasn't the end of it.
Importantly, we were able to access the secret account that nobody knew anything about, and we were able to do that and provide our analysis to the police in order to submit that as part of their investigation.
A further £246,000 had been transferred into other accounts, including the secret bank account.
Mr. Nesbitt appeared to develop a sense of entitlement. Then the temptation to perhaps cream money from this charity was too great, and that sense of entitlement got the better of him.
Appearing before Bradford Crown Court, Nesbitt was found guilty of fraud and theft offences.
Mr. Nesbitt stabbed right at the heart of public perception of charity. He let down very badly those people, those children and those families that he set up to support.
In April 2021, Nesbitt was jailed for 1 year, 8 months.
It sent a very strong message that you cannot get away with letting down the very communities that you've established your charity to support.
The Little Heroes Cancer Trust is no longer a registered charity and was wound up in 2018. Meanwhile, the work of the many excellent charities out there continues.
It's really important to donate to charities like Children with Cancer. The work they do to give families a break from hospitals is totally invaluable. You're going through the stress and trauma of a child being really quite ill, and they just are there to help guide you and show you that you can get through it, and that there is support out there and there is help out there. They just give you a day out for your children to be children for the day.
Yeah. No, it's BBC drama. We're talking about.
Woodhall Spa in Lincolnshire. We've seen how a major incident was declared when 10 mustard gas canisters were dumped in a lake. And how our defenders stepped up to protect public health and the environment.
Mustard gas is a chemical weapon. It's hugely dangerous, and whilst we haven't had any recent exposure in this country to mustard gas of individuals, we know that it can be fatal, so we took it really seriously.
Ben Thornley was the Environment Agency's incident manager.
We knew the lake was connected to nearby river systems and ultimately abstraction points for public drinking water, so we had to be sure where those cylinders were.
Royal Navy divers were preparing to carry out a fingertip search of the lake, but there were concerns the water could already be contaminated.
They actually did some tests on their diving equipment using the mustard gas that they'd taken to laboratories, and it actually burnt through their diving suits, so they didn't want to send the divers in for any longer than they needed to send them into the water.
With public health concerns mounting, the Environment Agency drafted in a specialist piece of equipment normally used for checking fish populations.
This is an ARIS 3000, which stands for Adaptive Resolution Imaging Sonar. What that does, it forms high-definition images by stitching sound waves together. This enables us to see through really muddy water.
It uses sound waves to create clear underwater images, even in murky waters. Jake Reeds is a fisheries officer for the Environment Agency.
We can move it left and right, and we can also rotate the sonar as well. Effectively, we're shining a torch down there now.
The sonar equipment was perfect for the job in hand.
We took it to the lake, we spent time training the military, then we gave them the boat with the sonar on and allowed them to go and find the cylinders.
They scoured the lake and quickly found what they were looking for.
This equipment was able to go in, locate the canisters and the crate, and able to mark them and then recover them quickly and easily.
Each of the canisters was carefully removed and disposed of, with divers spending only the minimum amount of time underwater.
We knew that there was a lot of silt. We knew that it was going to be a difficult environment to work in. But in fact, the sonar ultimately led to the recovery of those 10 canisters.
The woods were to remain closed for a further 6 months for a massive cleanup operation. In total, 150 canisters containing mustard gas were recovered. With the salvage operation underway, a parallel criminal investigation was launched, culminating in the first prosecution of its kind in British legal history. The case involved a trio of wartime memorabilia hunters, married couple Martin and Michaela Tasker, and their friend, Stuart Holmes.
So the 3 people involved were military enthusiasts. They wanted to come to the woods here and find things in the woods related to the First or Second World War.
They dug up 16 canisters containing mustard gas. When they realised what it was, they tried to cover up their actions by dumping 10 of them in a lake.
So they very clearly had a choice to make and could have called the police, and it would have been a much more shorter, more contained incident. They chose not to do that, and then they panicked and took the cylinders to a lake nearby and dumped them in that lake. And at that point, it made the whole operation much more complex.
Their actions only came to light when Martin and Michaela Tasker suffered breathing difficulties and blistering. Even then, they tried to cover up the full extent of what they had done. Chief Inspector Phil Vickers was tactical commander.
The fact that they hid from us the truth, the fact that they chose to dispose of those chemical weapons in water was quite irresponsible.
It was that reluctance to tell the truth that led to a landmark prosecution.
They took a chemical, in this case a chemical weapon, and they dumped it in a lake. That lake was connected to the river system, so the chemicals could have gone much further afield.
Martin Tasker, his wife Michaela, and Stuart Holmes admitted possessing a chemical weapon and breaching environmental laws by dumping it in a lake. It was the first time anyone in the UK had been prosecuted under the Chemical Weapons Act.
We knew that a unique charge against the Chemical Weapons Act was going to be a challenge, and I think it's testament to the investigation that the defendants pleaded guilty, and ultimately there was a prosecution that came out of it.
Martin Tasker also pleaded guilty to possession of firearms. In June 2020, he was jailed for a total of 5 years. Michaela Tasker and Stuart Holmes were given 12-month suspended jail sentences.
This was a unique incident. We've never dealt with anything like this before. We've never practiced or exercised for an incident of this nature. We had to really think innovatively, think about different ways of dealing with this, thinking about how we would minimise the impact to people, to the environment, and really work closely together.
I'm very satisfied that the work that we did, those 27 different agencies, protected the local community, and we did the right thing. I'm very proud of the work that we did.
Across the UK, our defenders are out there. They're determined to protect us and to keep our families safe, to look after our environment, and to seek out hazards wherever they exist.
I've had the pleasure of working with so many different types of people with so many different backgrounds, and the one thing about them is everybody is dedicated and committed to bringing people to justice and protecting our environment.
Cooking for a MasterChef quarterfinals place. Serious pressure tonight with an invention test here at 8. Want to hear the music that puts Gordon Ramsay in a good mood? Listen to his Happy Mix on BBC Sounds now.